Stop chasing. Start creating gravity. The difference is not in louder words or prettier smiles, but in the energy you carry and the choices you make when the moment turns electric. Attraction becomes obsession when presence meets restraint, when clarity meets mystery, when a woman moves with intention instead of anxiety. You're not here to perform for his attention. You're here to command the moment, calmly, femininely, decisively. Most women lean in when desire spikes. They give more, speak more, reveal more, trying to secure what they already feel slipping. The bold woman does the opposite. She recognizes the peak, the quickened breath, the softened gaze, the magnetic pull, and steps back with a quiet smile. Not to punish, not to play games, to let tension become the architect of memory. Desire grows in tension, not in comfort. When you walk away at the height, you don't extinguish the flame. You cup your hand around it and make the air thinner. That exit is an initiation. It tells him your closeness is earned, not assumed. The masculine doesn't truly want to conquer. He wants to earn. He wants his effort to matter. When you leave at the peak, he learns that your presence has a price. Consistency, depth, intention. He also learns something else. Nothing haunts a man like unfinished business. The mind loops what it cannot resolve. That's not manipulation. It's mastery of pacing. There's a reason an unfinished sentence lingers longer than a complete speech. The moment you create space, 1. Beat longer than expected. You activate his imagination. He replays the way your eyes lingered, the half smile, the calm goodbye. He hears the door click and feels his heartbeat in the silence. That silence is not absence. It's architecture. You just built a chamber in his mind where your memory echoes. This isn't coldness. It's emotional sovereignty. You're not withholding love. You're curating access. You move like music. Sound and silence, presence and pause. You refuse to collapse your worth into his momentary excitement. You hold your tempo. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most chasing is unconscious, rushing to soothe anxiety, to control an outcome, to avoid the feeling of loss. Make it conscious. Feel the pull and choose the pause. Boldness begins in your body. Slow your breath. Unclench your jaw. Let your shoulders drop. Embodiment is how your nervous system tells the room, you're not negotiating your value. You're not hurried. You're not scrambling to be chosen. You're selecting. That somatic message is louder than anything you could say. Men feel it. They don't always name it, but they lean toward it because it feels like truth. Clarity is your second blade. Mixed signals create mixed outcomes. When you desire something, speak it cleanly without apology, without inflation. I like when you take your time. Want you to kiss me like you mean it. I need a quiet minute. This isn't hardness, it's guidance. You're not demanding. You're directing. True masculine strength relaxes in the presence of clear feminine truth. He doesn't have to guess. He can meet you. Then there's touch, the language deeper than words. Own the moment with subtle, intentional contact that says, I choose this. Fingertips grazing the back of his neck while he speaks. The calm weight of your palm on his chest when you're listening. Legs brushing his under the table. Not by accident, by choice. You're not performing. You're transmitting certainty. That certainty bypasses his mind and goes straight to his nervous system. He doesn't analyze it. He feels it. Emotional command is your third pillar. You can feel deeply without becoming reactive. You can hold intensity without exploding. You can be vulnerable without surrendering your center. That's disciplined vulnerability, open heart, steady hand. It's oxygen to a masculine psyche tired of drama, tests, and coded messages. You communicate, you don't define my peace. You're invited into it. Invitation is different than permission. Invitation is power. When he goes quiet, you don't spiral. When he's distant, you don't distort your self-worth to chase his attention. You allow space to speak. You don't weaponize silence, and you're not afraid of it either. That equilibrium is rare, and rarity is irresistible. Jung observed, what you resist persists. You don't resist uncertainty. You hold it. You don't resist desire. You shape it. You don't resist endings. You make decisions. Nothing is more attractive than a woman who chooses herself without theatrics. Mystery is not pretense. It is precision. You don't flood the moment with explanations. You don't hand him an instruction manual to your soul on the first night. You let impressions land. You offer one sentence fewer than expected. You leave a message with a single charge line. Last night, wow. You kiss like you're writing an opening line, not a conclusion. Curiosity is Tinder. You don't douse it with overexposure. Understand the psychology at play. The mind completes patterns. Start a pattern he must finish. Start a rhythm he wants to match. Start a pursuit he's hungry to earn. That's why walking away at the crest of the wave works. It leaves the wave unbroken inside him. He will come back for resolution. He will elevate his energy to meet yours because your standard is clear. Access follows alignment, not appetite. Practical craftsmanship. Notice the micro beats. When tension spikes, breathe once more before you speak. When he leans in, hold eye contact a heartbeat longer, then smile and stand. When the room gets loud, lower your voice and slow your cadence. He'll lean closer. When you feel the urge to overshare, land one honest line and let silence do the heavy lifting. When you want to text a paragraph, send a sentence. Depth, not data. This, too, is kindness. You are not feeding wounds, his or yours. You're feeding the connection. You're teaching the nervous. Systems in the room that desire is safe. In your hands because you won't let it burn the house down. You'll let it warm the walls. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your restraint ensures the reaction becomes transformation, not combustion. Bold women aren't loud. They're lucid. They measure their words and mean them. They don't chase certainty from men. They create certainty within themselves. They don't collapse boundaries to keep company. They raise the room by keeping them. That's the quiet sovereignty that turns attention into devotion. You are not trying to be unforgettable. You are living in a way that cannot be forgotten. There's elegance in leaving early. There's power in ending the kiss 1 second sooner. There's magic in a half-told story that invites him to ask for the next page. And when he does, he'll discover the page isn't free. It costs consistency, honesty, and presence. Not gifts, not lines, not promises, presence. Remember, you are calibrating access. You're not auditioning. You're curating. You are the melody and the rest between notes, the warmth and the wind, the yes and the not yet. You are the keeper of pace. You will not let the moment consume the connection. You will let the connection season the moment. Anchor this in your body daily. Breathe deep into your belly before you reply. Feel your feet on the floor before you say yes. Place your hand over your heart when anxiety spikes and ask, "What do I actually want?" Then speak that want cleanly or say nothing and smile. Both are powerful. Both are choices. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes, Jung wrote. Look inside and awaken. Awaken the woman who trusts her impact so deeply she doesn't rush to prove it. Awaken the woman who lets tension build without breaking her own boundaries. Awaken the woman who can end an evening with a soft laugh and a steady gaze that says, "I could give you more, but not yet." Leave him with a question, not a performance. Leave him with a feeling, not a script. Leave him standing in the afterglow of an almost and watch how quickly effort follows intrigue. You didn't chase. You changed the tempo. And the moment you own the tempo, you own the room. Most men aren't repelled by female desire. They're repelled by confusion. The fog of hints, the maze of tests, the smile that says yes while the silence says maybe. These fracture connection. Clarity is the antidote. When you state what you want with calm, grounded certainty, you cut through the noise he's conditioned to navigate and invite him into real intimacy. Not performance, presence. Clarity isn't a demand. It's direction. Direction is not control. It's coherence. You're saying, here's how I love. Here's what opens me. Here's the rhythm that brings me alive, spoken simply. It sounds like, I want you to kiss me like you mean it. Slow down. I like it when you take your time. I need quiet for a minute. Stay close. These aren't ultimatums. They're keys. You're handing him a map to your world and trusting him with the landscape. Notice the energy. When anxiety speaks, the voice rises, sentences multiply, and your body leans forward as if to chase agreement. When certainty speaks, the breath drops, the tone softens, and the body relaxes into its own center. He feels the difference instantly. The first asks to be convinced. The second invites him to rise. True masculine instinct is drawn to the woman who knows her inner weather and names it without theatrics. You're not seeking permission to want. You're revealing a preference and letting your boundaries carry the weight. Boundaries do the heavy lifting so your voice can stay soft. If he can't meet a clear, respectful request, you won't escalate, you'll exit. Quietly, finality. Delivered without chaos is unforgettable. It communicates, I love deeply, and I love myself first. That message calibrates every future interaction. Clarity deepens polarity. When a woman articulates desire with composure, she becomes the compass, not the prize. He isn't jumping through hoops. He's following a star. This flips the frame from approval-seeking to attunement. He stops guessing and starts listening. He stops performing and starts responding. Obsession doesn't come from mystery alone. It comes from the relief of finally knowing how to win with you, combined with the challenge of earning continued access. Practice the micro skill of the single line. In moments where you'd usually over-explain, choose one precise sentence and stop. Precision creates potency. Potency creates memory. Say it and let silence set it. Silence is not emptiness. It's the frame that makes the painting visible. He will lean into the pause if you don't fill it for him. Clarity also means naming edges, those places where your openness requires structure. I don't move fast without emotional presence. I won't chase. Contact. Reach first, sometimes. Honesty turns me on. These lines are clean doors, open or closed. A man who respects himself will respect those doors. A man who doesn't will self-select out. Both outcomes serve you. Bring your body into the conversation. Turn toward him when you want more. Turn slightly away when you need space. Touch his forearm as you ask for depth. Rest your palm on his chest when you want him grounded. The body is a truth teller. When your words and your posture match, he experiences coherence, and coherence builds trust. Trust is the soil where passion keeps growing instead of exploding and dying. Let your eyes do work your voice doesn't have to. Hold eye contact a beat longer when you approve. Soften and look down when you want slowness. Lift your chin slightly when you want leadership from him. None of this is theater. It's embodied honesty, your nervous system speaking in a language he can understand without translation. Avoid the trap of cool girl vagueness. Nonchalance is not femininity. It's often fear wearing sunglasses. If you want more, ask for more. If you need pace, set pace. If you're done, be done. Mixed messages manufacture mixed men. Your life gets simpler the moment your expression matches your standard. Clarity doesn't guarantee compliance. It guarantees alignment. You'll lose some dynamics. You might have sustained with ambiguity. Good ambiguity props up the wrong stories. Let them end quickly so the right story can begin. The right story has rhythm, reciprocity, and resolution. You don't carry the plot alone. Carry a few anchor lines ready, short, specific, savory. Right there, slower. Look at me when you say it. Hold my face when you kiss me. I'm not available for inconsistency. Text me when you're free. Don't hover. Deliver them with breath, not bite. The difference is felt. A line spoken from self-trust lands as invitation. The same line from insecurity lands as attack. Before you speak, exhale through your mouth. Drop your shoulders. Feel your feet. Then say the thing. He'll hear it in your nervous system before he hears it in your words. Remember the psychology you're engaging. Clarity reduces cognitive load. He doesn't waste attention decoding you, so he can invest attention in desiring you. Desire without confusion becomes devotion. Confusion might spark adrenaline in the short term, but devotion sustains pursuit in the long term. You are choosing longevity over cheap spikes. And weave mystery back in through restraint, not vagueness. You don't need to narrate every thought to be authentic. Offer the essential signal. Withhold the static. A half smile can carry the rest. A single line can be the whole paragraph. Let him ask. Let him wonder. Wonder is not the opposite of clarity. It's clarity's shadow. Name the direction, leave the scenery to discovery. One more Jung line to hold in your chest as you practice. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Becoming her means you stop negotiating your truth to keep temporary company. You speak it and let the right company form around it. That's the kind of boldness that echoes in a man's mind long after the night ends. Not because you were louder, but because you were lucid. Clarity is seduction because it is safety. Safety for him to step forward without guessing. Safety for you to stay open without abandoning yourself. When that safety meets heat, obsession has a place to live. He will replay not just your words, but the way your voice anchored them. He will measure other conversations by the ease he felt with yours. He will rise or he will move. Either way, you win. Now breathe. Choose one clean truth, say it, and stop. Let him feel the gravity of a woman who doesn't whisper around her wants. That gravity is the new chase. He won't run from it. He'll run to meet it. There is a kind of touch that does not ask for permission or validation. It does not seek reaction. It does not perform. It informs. It tells a man without language, I am here, not to impress you, not to chase you, but to meet you. This kind of touch is deliberate, slow, anchored, intentional. It comes from a woman who is fully inside her body rather than observing herself from the outside. When your touch is reactive, hesitant, rushed, seeking confirmation, you communicate anxiety. When your touch is intentional, still, warm, knowing, you communicate power. A woman who touches with purpose isn't asking, do you like this? She is showing him how she feels. And the moment he feels it, he slows down. His body listens. His mind quiets. This is where obsession begins, not in intensity, but in presence. Start with the places most people ignore. The back of his neck, the inside of his wrist, the curve just below his collarbone, the small of his back, the space right above his hip bone. These are not loud spots. They are intimate ones. They bypass performance and go directly to sensation and vulnerability. When you touch a man in these places, especially slowly, you're speaking to the part of him no one tends to meet, the part beneath the armor. Touch him like time has slowed down. Touch him like you're studying something sacred. Touch him like you already know the effect it has. Because you do. Most women rush. They rush to prove interest. Rush to prove confidence, rush to keep the moment going so it doesn't fall apart. But the bold woman understands something crucial. Slowness creates depth. Depth creates memory. Memory creates attachment. When you move slowly, you control the tempo. And whoever controls the tempo controls the connection. Sit close enough for your knees to brush. Let your breathing deepen. Let your eyes soften. Let your fingertips rest, not stroke, not grab, rest. The stillness will say everything. Men are not used to stillness. They are used to urgency. Urgency is masculine. Stillness is feminine. Stillness melts him, not because it is passive, but because it is undeniable. It communicates, I do not need to rush because I am not afraid. Carl Jung once wrote, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. The woman who touches with presence has looked inward. She's not using touch to get him. She's using touch to feel him. And that difference is seismic. The neck, the place where guard meets surrender. The side of his neck, especially just below the jaw, is where tension lives. It is where control holds. Kiss there first, not greedily, but with reverence. This kiss is a message. You can soften here. Do not rush to his mouth. Let the anticipation build. He will lean into you physically and emotionally because you are awakening response, not demanding reaction. Behind the ear, the silent switch. This is where breath becomes sensation. When your lips hover before they touch, when your exhale brushes his skin before contact, you are telling his body, feel me before you touch me. He will. He can't not. The nervous system doesn't argue with that kind of intimacy. Slow, soft, deliberate. You are not chasing climax. You are choreographing tension. The collarbone, the place where emotion lives, close to the surface. When you kiss here, you're not arousing, you're listening. The collarbone is where vulnerability sits, just beneath the skin. Kiss him there and pause. Let your hand rest lightly on the center of his chest. Feel his breath change. Don't comment on it. Don't fill the moment. Let silence burn slow. Carl Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Here, the pain is the ache of wanting more and not taking it yet. That ache becomes memory. Memory becomes attachment. The lower stomach, the gateway of surrender. Do this slowly, not as a tease, but as an invitation. Touch here like you're acknowledging a truth, not asking for permission. This is where his guard falls. This is where control gives way to presence. Don't rush the momentum. Let him feel the pull of anticipation. This is how you move from attraction to imprinting. The inside of the wrist, where his pulse lives closest. This one is not loud. It is not sexual in the obvious sense, which is precisely why it is unforgettable. When you turn his hand palm up and kiss the inside of his wrist, you are saying, "I feel you. I am not afraid of your softness. I see the man beneath the armor. He will remember this long after everything else fades, because almost no one ever touches a man here with intention. This kiss does not excite him, it undoes him. And the most powerful thing you can do after this kiss? You pull back. Not far, just enough. Not because you're leaving, because you're letting meaning settle. The silence after an intentional touch is where attachment forms. Men don't become obsessed with women who overwhelm them. They become obsessed with women who awaken them. The woman who touches without rushing, without seeking validation, without forcing climax, she becomes unforgettable because she is not taking his body. She is accessing his nervous system. And the nervous system remembers. It remembers who slowed time down. It remembers who breathed with intention. It remembers who touched without fear. It remembers who didn't rush to the end. This is the kind of intimacy that lingers in him when he's alone. In the shower, driving, at work, in silence. He replays the moment not because you took his breath away, but because you gave it back to him. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Your touch is not decoration. It is transformation. The woman who understands this never chases. She leads the room with her body's calm. She speaks with her fingertips. She breathes instead of performs. She moves slowly enough for him to feel every second. And when she finally steps back, he follows. There is a kind of woman who does not chase, demand, or cling. She does not crumble when a man pulls back, nor does she inflate herself when he leans in. She moves from a grounded center that does not shake in the presence of desire. This is emotional sovereignty, the ability to feel fully while remaining self-directed, not reaction-driven. Most people confuse emotional intensity with emotional depth. Intensity is reactivity. Depth is regulation. When something triggers you, his silence, his distance, his shift in tone, the reactive impulse is to close in, cling, question, or test. The sovereign woman pauses instead, not because she is detached, but because she chooses to respond rather than collapse. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Emotional. Sovereignty begins there. You are not seeking him to complete you. You are meeting him as a whole person. Love becomes powerful when you are not using it to fill a void. The pause is your power. When you feel triggered, your nervous system spikes. Your chest tightens. Your mind spins with stories. He's losing interest. I'm not enough. I need to do something. The untrained response is action. Texting, explaining, proving, chasing. But the sovereign woman lets the wave rise and fall inside herself first. She takes one slow breath. She relaxes her jaw. She feels the sensation without acting on it. The feeling passes. The truth remains. Desire becomes devotion only in the presence of regulation. If you cannot hold emotional intensity, you will chase comfort instead of connection. When you can feel without reacting, you stop trying to control him. And the moment you stop trying to control him, he feels safe enough to come closer. Men don't run from women who feel deeply. They run from women who make their emotions his responsibility. She does not chase clarity. If he withdraws, she does not interrogate or demand reassurance. She lets space speak, because space always reveals truth. When a man values a connection, he returns with intention. When he doesn't, silence tells you everything words never will. No dramatics, no panic, just observation. This is not coldness. It is reality without emotional distortion. Jung said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." The more you try to force closeness, the more distance grows. The more you allow space, the more what is real can return more and or fall away. Either outcome is alignment. She sets standards without threatening loss. A sovereign woman does not say, "Treat me better or I'm leaving." She simply leaves if the treatment is beneath her standard. Not with slammed doors, not with speeches, with quiet finality. Her boundaries are not barricades. They are filters. She does not try to make him understand. Understanding is his responsibility. Expression is hers. She expresses once with clarity and sincerity. Then she watches his response, not his words. If the response aligns, she opens. If it doesn't, she closes. Connection should not require negotiation of dignity. She doesn't perform ease. She is ease. There's no pretending to be unbothered. That is emotional suppression. Sovereignty is different. She feels everything, but she remains the witness, not the storm. Her emotional atmosphere is steady. Her silence is warm, not icy. Her boundaries are calm, not rigid. Her heart remains open, but her self-respect remains intact. When she says, "I need a moment," she means it with tenderness, not distance. When she says, "This doesn't feel good for me," she is not accusing. She is revealing. When she says, "I want depth," she is not demanding. She is inviting. Men fall for the woman who invites, not the one who insists. She does not fear losing him. She fears losing herself. Chasing always comes from fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being chosen, fear of being ordinary. But emotional sovereignty says, "I choose me first," not as a performance, as truth. And here is the paradox. The moment you stop fearing loss, you become the one who cannot be forgotten. Because you are no longer trying to attach to him. You are meeting him at the level of choice. Desire without dependency is magnetic. She speaks when her heart is open, not when her wound is loud. If she needs to express, she waits until she is centered. She speaks to be understood, not to discharge emotion. Instead of, "You made me feel ignored," she says, "When contact drops suddenly, it feels disconnecting for me. I care about staying attuned with you." Same truth, different frequency. One pushes, the other invites. She uses language that brings him closer, not language that makes him defend. She understands that love without self-love is possession. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, emotional. Sovereignty ensures that the reaction transforms, rather than consumes. Love becomes elevation instead of entanglement. She does not want to be half of a person. She wants two whole worlds touching, and that is what makes her unforgettable. Not because she is hard to get, but because she is impossible to unseat. Her presence is steady. Her heart is open. Her boundaries are alive. Her desire is honest. Her self-respect is unshakable. This is the woman who does not chase. She attracts by existing correctly. She is the storm and the stillness, the warmth and the gravity, the softness and the unwavering center. And when a man meets a woman like this, he doesn't think, "I want her." He thinks, "I must rise to meet her." There is a moment in every powerful connection where you could say more, stay longer, or give more of yourself. Most people do. They fill the silence, complete the thought, finish the kiss, resolve the tension. They seek closure because closure feels safe. But closure is also the death of desire. What keeps a man thinking, remembering, replaying, longing, is not what was finished, it's what was almost finished. The mind is addicted to completion. When something ends cleanly, the psyche releases it. When something ends with a thread still hanging, the psyche loops it again and again, trying to complete what it cannot. This is not manipulation. It is the understanding that intimacy is not just the act, but the arc. The rise matters more than the climax. The pause matters more than the explanation. The look away matters more than the speech. You are not withholding affection. You are letting the moment breathe. Leaving something unfinished is the art of creating space for emotional imprint. A woman who does this does not fade when she leaves. She remains, like a scent, like a song, like a dream that ends 1 second too soon. The power of the unspoken. You don't need to say everything you feel. You don't need to describe every emotion. You don't need to explain your depth for him to sense it. In fact, depth lands stronger in the spaces where words stop. When you pause mid-sentence, when your eyes hold his without commentary, when your expression says more than your voice ever could, you create a moment his mind cannot resolve. And that unresolved moment becomes memory. A finished moment ends. An unfinished moment lives. Carl Jung wrote, "There is no greater mystery than the mystery of ourselves." You are not withholding yourself. You are allowing yourself to be discovered, layer by layer, breath by breath, encounter by encounter. Mystery is not secrecy. Mystery is pace. Let silence carry meaning. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it so they don't feel exposed. But silence is where the connection actually forms. Silence is where the nervous systems synchronize. Silence is where breath becomes communication. When you leave space between words, when you take your time responding, when you listen without rushing to formulate your answer, you create a depth of presence that few people ever offer. And presence is unforgettable. When you leave a moment silent, the man has to feel instead of analyze. Feeling binds. Analysis breaks. Leave the door ajar, not wide open. You don't need to slam the door to create mystery. You simply don't swing it all the way open. You don't send the last goodnight message. You don't explain what you meant by every glance. You don't narrate your inner world on the first connection. You allow him to lean in to understand you. Because curiosity pulls harder than certainty. A man who knows everything stops reaching. A man who wonders continues moving closer. End the kiss 1 second early. Not halfway through. Not abruptly. 1 second early. The second when he leans deeper. The second where his breath catches. The second where the world is quiet. Stop there. Lean back. Look at him. Hold eye contact for just a beat. Smile. Soft, knowing, warm. And say nothing. That moment will replay in him for days. Not because it was incomplete, but because it was charged. Completion exhausts the nervous system. Suspension activates it. The unsent text. Sometimes the sentence you don't send has more power than the one you do. Not because you're withholding, but because you realize speaking from the wound would create noise, while speaking from the center creates connection. Wait until the center returns, then express slowly, simply, clearly. Jung said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises." And often, the disguise is urgency, the need to resolve, to define, to finalize. But desire is not born from definition. It is born from tension. Allow him to reach. If you always close the distance, he never learns how. If you always explain, he never has to ask. If you always move the connection forward, he becomes passive. You don't want passive. You want engaged. You want pursuit, not persuasion. So you give him space to act, not as a test, as an invitation. If he reaches, he's choosing you. If he doesn't, the silence reveals the truth. Either way, your dignity stays intact. Let the memory echo. When you leave something unfinished, you are trusting the moment to do what words cannot. You are trusting presence to leave imprint. You are trusting your energy to remain long after your body exits. He will remember the way you breathed against his neck before you kissed him, the way your fingertips slowed instead of rushed, the way your voice softened when you wanted something real, the way you walked away at the height, not the end. This is how a woman becomes unforgettable. Not by giving everything, but by giving meaning to everything she gives. Obsession doesn't come from excess. It comes from precision. A woman who leaves something unfinished is not distant. She is intentional. She gives him something to feel, something to imagine, something to return to. You are not creating longing. You are awakening it. The moment ends, but the echo remains. He will replay it. He will try to resolve it. He will come closer for completion. Not because you demanded it, but because his soul needed it. And that is the difference between being wanted for a moment and being remembered for a lifetime.